Hey, folks, welcome to the Gain Traction Podcast, the official podcast for tire business. We have a great podcast show for you today. I am Mike Edge, your host. My guest today is Joe Schafranek, account manager with Tread Partners. He has a wealth of knowledge in tire and auto repair digital marketing for multi-locations. But before we begin, this episode is also brought to you by Tread Partners, our parent company. Tread Partners specializes in PPC marketing for multi-location tire and auto repair shops. Tread Partners works with clients that have hundreds of locations down to 5 locations. As you know, you can spend a lot of money trying to master the art and science of PPC digital marketing. Let Tread Partners make you way more efficient and effective. Get started with a review of your PPC structure and strategy today. Hire the best. Contact Tread Partners and let them look under the hood of PPC marketing today. Don't waste any more time or money. You can contact Tread Partners by visiting treadpartners.com. My past guest shout out for today is TJ White with Tire Source. Had a great interview with him a couple weeks ago. He's out of the Canton, Akron, Ohio area. If you haven't listened to it, please give it a shot. It's at gaintractionpodcast.com. Welcome to the Gain Traction Podcast, the official podcast for tire business. I am Mike Edge, your host, and I have the privilege of interviewing the tire dealers, shop owners, counter sales reps, technicians, industry executives, and other thought leaders of our industry. So let's get started. Joe, welcome to Gain Traction.
Mike, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to finally be a part of one of these podcasts with you.
Well, you know, we've been around 3.5, 4 years now, so we finally decided we thought Joe coming on would be a good thing. But you know, you're in a unique spot. You've been in this business for a long time, but you bring a really cool perspective in marketing with a lot of the data experience that you have. But before we get into all that, tell me a little bit about yourself. I know you're originally from Michigan, right?
Yeah, born and raised in Detroit.
You love hockey.
Love hockey. Yeah, big Lions guy, big Red Wings fan, big Tigers fan. You know, you carry that Michigan pride wherever you go.
There go all the Chicago listeners right there. They just turned it off right there.
Sorry for all those folks out there. But yeah, grew up in Detroit. Made my way to Arizona with my family. Some of our roots on my dad's side of the family were out in Phoenix, and it was a good opportunity for us back in the late 2010s and early 2010s for that matter. And that's where I actually got started in automotive as well. Believe it or not, you know, moving from Motor City and then out to Valley of the Sun and then start working shops.
But out there, they do have, don't they have all the test courses for a lot of automotive stuff?
Yeah, we had the GM proving grounds there for quite some time, not too far from where I went to high school and whatnot.
I think Ford still does, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know.
Anyway, no, it's pretty cool. But you're talking about a climate switch, man.
Yeah,
you still played hockey, right? I mean, and you've got your kids in it, right?
Yeah. I grew my family out there. Started them skating, 2-3 years old, and still to this day they skate, and I get out there with them and coach and still play some men's leagues here and there. So definitely that's a part of Michigan that never left my heart and will continue on all the way into to my later years.
Well, I know that now you've moved in the Raleigh market, Raleigh, North Carolina. So you're still engaged in hockey with the kids, right?
Yeah. I try to. That's a part of the community that our family really enjoys. Getting to know and growing. I've got family members right on my wife's side of the family that help grow the sport as well and coach on a much higher level than I do. But it's definitely prominent throughout the Schafranek household and all of our family members.
So what was because I know you got retail experience. Was that your first experience in automotive retail?
Yeah. So believe it or not, right out of high school, in Arizona, there's a big market for full service car wash. So I started selling windshields just to make, a quick buck here and there, and was soon recruited to Firestone, where I really got my kind of gateway into aftermarket automotive and repair and tire. Started building my career through the great training at Bridgestone Firestone.
That is training though, yeah.
Oh, world class. I mean, if there's ever any advice I give to folks, at least back then, it was, working for a bigger corporation that, has proven out exactly how, maybe not exactly how it should be done, but one of the steps to
Well,
having a successful shop.
you might say for their scale, they've got some very good processes in place and things. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what a name to know, right? That's a household name that's been around for many, many years outside of just tire as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you were in there several years. What'd you do after that?
Yeah, so I started to move into a little bit of back and forth. I got into my first, I guess you could say, marketing job, right? With the company BayIQ. I was one of the very first early employees with BayIQ back in 2015, 2014.
And there's probably a lot of listeners that know that company.
Oh, I can imagine. I'm sure there's quite a few that are still using them.
Yeah.
To this day, many years later. But yeah, I worked my way up through management with Bridgestone, and then took the leap with Pat Murphy, who founded BayIQ, and spent a few years growing that and learning that, and kind of watching some changes and learning more about the independent industry and some of the smaller franchise and things of that nature, before relentlessly jumping back into retail and bouncing a little bit around between the automotive side.
Yeah, but you're still in automotive. You're still in the space per se. And then what happened next?
I spent a few years with Big O, one of the, if not the largest franchise group in the Southwest, with the Tony Williams Group.
Nice.
Out of Phoenix, Arizona. He's got, I think, 19 stores now throughout Arizona and growing. And spent a few years with them, learned a different side of the business, right? And I often joke it was the wild, wild west out there in Arizona, right? But it's a little different than that corporate structure that you learn in your early days, and definitely that stepping stool to what shops could be, and how I learned and my experience. And it was a good platform to jump around and really learn before, seeing also how some of these independents, right? A lot of these independent owners and privately owned shops that we work with nowadays, just getting a different perspective that wasn't so by the book.
Well, then you got to Trade Partners eventually, correct?
Yeah. Not too long after that, I had a short venture with a data company called Sidekick 360.
Yeah.
And then transitioned it to digital marketing with Trade Partners.
So what's interesting about your career is that you have really hands-on experience in the shops, right? And you got great training, but then you seem to have grasped deep knowledge in data, and then the marketing side with data. And that's why I think this was interesting having you on the podcast, because you bring a perspective that I did a speech about a year ago. And I walked on stage. I was the keynote speaker, and I was asking. It was in front of a large group of dealers, and I said, "Can I get a show of hands of how many people like to spend money on marketing?" And no one raised their hand. And my retort to them was immediately, "Well, nobody likes to spend money with you either, And that's the truth. I said, but what you guys do to try to accomplish or overcome that is, and accomplish trust is, you use DVI, you try sales training, you try to teach people how to tell people what their problems are with their car, because nobody's waking up that day thinking, hey, I can't wait to spend money on my, something torn up on my car or my check engine or whatever it may be, or I need new tires. But you got to make that as clear as possible, because once you build that trust, then they realize, somebody's not trying to rip me off. And I think some of the stereotype at least in digital marketing, is there's a lot of lack of understanding sometimes, and there's a lack of understanding of data. And the challenge you have is everybody talks in the same terms, just like shops do, right? But how do you know one shop knows it better than the other, right? You don't. I mean, if you don't know the industry, if you don't know, you don't know. So how do you qualify that? Well, based on results, I guess, reviews, things like that. But I think it's important to convey to people, like through your experience, particularly, you deal with a lot of clients that enter marketing. Of course, they're already doing something, right? They're
right.
They're out of the gate. They got something going. A lot of times, though, they may think, "Hey, my marketing's not working, or it is working based on just the revenue." And revenue is not is not the clear indicator. I mean, you might be successful and your marketing might not be doing a thing for it, but yet you don't touch it because you say, hey, we got to leave that alone because my numbers are up and I'm not going to mess with marketing, right? But from your experience, what do you feel that, and what do you think? What's your experience with regards to clients in the automotive space? Dealers. I know you deal with multi-location dealers. They have a whole world of problems and challenges that they face compared to a single shop. But what's your, I guess, biggest takeaway in regards to their experiences with marketing?
Yeah. Well, I think you made some good points in that question as well. And when you think about the core of the shop, right? What are we doing every day? Like, obviously we're out helping people or servicing vehicles, doing it right, getting it done the first time. Shoot, in some cases, we're even out there busting cars ourselves, right? Doing oil changes, doing tires. And you often forget about some of the things that are driving that business to you. And I think some of the perception can vary, right? Because in my early days of doing this, right, the first marketing experience I had, it was all retention based. So it was like, hey, what are we doing with the people that we already have? And in a lot of cases, I think some folks may view that as that's what true marketing is, right? We're just continuing to get back to people that we've already serviced, make sure we're keeping them, retaining that business. What I come to find now in this world that I'm living in marketing these days is it's a lot more than that, right? It's a lot more complex. There's only so much you can tap into with your return business. They're going to come back a few times a year. You're going to deliver great customer service, get them the right estimate and the best price, and keep them at their home shop. But how do you grab?
But there's a statistic out there that's like, you on average every year you've got a shrinkage of about 15% of your customer base, and that's due to people moving.
New cars,
all
right?
Just life, right? But if you don't do anything for the new or acquiring new customers, then you're in 2 years you're down 30% on if shrinkage is at 15, right? That's a lot, and so you got to have a way to
bring up new acquisition, right? And then there's much more to the equation than just delivering great customer service and consistency across that. And that's where that's what I've come to enjoy learning and watching along the way, working with the shops I work with now, is most folks are so sophisticated these days in how they're approaching things that they're taking the effort to grasp those new opportunities, and a lot of it's through paid search, right? A lot of it's through growing organically with your SEO efforts. The biggest part, and I should say the biggest surprise to a lot of these shops I work with now, is really how quantifiable that can be, right? There's so much unknown in it, right? You're spending the money on it. Hey, I'm spending a few hundred to get some clicks here, and we did these press releases and a couple other things for SEO to try to make sure we're showing up in the search engines. But how do you prove that, right? How do you prove what that return was? And I think a large part of it is, in combination to the digital measurements that we have at our accessibility now, and the understanding how it's not always easy to read a Google report by any means, but there's certainly programs out there that have helped make that a lot, it translated it in a way that's understandable to a shop owner and to the key members of these multi-store systems. And looking at, just the pure car count growth as well, and things of.
Well, but it's interesting you bring that up. But one of the things that I think is interesting about you is that, and I think it comes from your experience in shops and stuff, but at the end of the day, I mean, you can have all the impressions you want, but if car count's not up, then I mean, that's a clearer indication than impressions. And I've had nice conversations with you, but you've always alluded to this with customers that, hey, ultimately I'm interested in the data that we get, but ultimately you got to communicate to me that revenues, car counts, and even certain types of sales. Let's say, for instance, that you're spending money strategically for brake repair or or even if it's oil changes, whatever it is, you're dialing into a specific location and a specific service that you feel that this location is deficient in. Why aren't we getting more of these? We should be averaging a higher number of these. So you'll dial that in for a client, but also you're looking at across the board in the locations. Are we doing a good job across the whole board at things that we should be getting more of in every location? Is that
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think a large part of that, you touched on it without saying it directly, it's the transparency, right?
yeah?
In the same fashion that I'm going to be transparent about what's working and not working based on the dollars you're spending and the results we're seeing, I'd like to see that same transparency coming back on how are we executing on what's coming through. We know we just pumped a bunch of money into a brake campaign or an alignment campaign or even a tire campaign. How many of those calls can we go back and listen to, or how many of those forms that we saw filled can we put a dollar amount to and say, hey, yeah, that campaign was successful because of what we did and how we delivered it and how effective the messaging maybe had been or how easy it was to convert. I mean, some of the best campaigns that we've run, have come at the cost of sacrificing some free services, but the turnout that it produced. And I'll keep this one a little anonymous, but a special client of mine recently expanded to Saturdays, right? Open on Saturdays, big change for them, not something they've done in the 20 plus years of business that they've been open. And as a way to fill those bays on Saturdays, we offered a free oil change exclusive to Facebook only, right? And you think now, how do you give away a free oil change? That seems like such a gimmicky thing to do. Everybody's giving away a cheap oil change. And it turned out really, really well. I think their best Saturday was the second Saturday of the month. They did a $22,000 day, right? And now I've consistently throughout that month averaged more than $15,000 a Saturday after never being open before on Saturdays, not having that exposure. I mean, a good customer base helps that, right? Seeing that and it's floating around online, but you're hitting these eyes of people who maybe didn't know about you at all through Facebook. It's complete awareness play, something that they had never known about your shop, didn't even know you existed. And what easier way to get them in and fill your appointment calendar. Really, we filled their scheduler with a free oil change.
I got a question for you. Was that campaign organic on Facebook, or was it an actual ad campaign on Facebook?
It was an ad campaign. Yeah.
That's powerful. I mean, that's one of the things that I know you're very involved with is the digital ads across, different mediums, but that tells you right there that people will respond to an ad if that was the only place that you guys targeted for the Facebook audience.
Yeah. And what's even crazier is you hear about all these shops spending thousands of dollars a month on PPC. I think that the total campaign for that whole month of it running, maybe 3 weeks of it running, was no more than $250.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, see, and that's the thing that's interesting to me. My background and everything, but I've always been interested in results and seeing people get results. But it's amazing to me the confusion that exists out there because if you're a shop owner or you own multi-location shops and let's say you're not at that level where you've hired some in-house CMO type, you're not PE necessarily, but you really don't know what you don't know. And it is harmful because you could throw money all over the place. And what you seem to be able to provide people is that ability to be able to say, listen, we've done this before, and that's going to be an endless bottomless pit, or that's a bad place to go with your money or whatever. I mean, I think that's the opportunity that you like to present to people is, hey, we've got this experience and we can really shortcut your trip or your time frame to see results.
Yeah, absolutely. Without the shameless plug of using our name with Tread Partners, right? A lot of us have been in that world. We've lived that experience. We trial and errored what the majority of the marketing industry has done specific to this industry, and we know how to do it right.
No. Well, what I like is a lot of this, and I am highlighting it, but what I like about it is that you're in a position where this is literally all you do and all you talk about. So there's so many scenarios that you have seen, whereas, somebody may be coming from a well-reputable general practitioner of marketing, but if they don't know the industry, yeah, they may be pretty good at SEO. They may be pretty good at PPC, but again, if they don't know the angles in the industry, they spend a lot of time wasting a lot of money trying to dial those things in.
Yeah, I agree. We see it pretty often.
Yeah, no doubt. What do you consider the most exciting thing about your job in marketing?
It's such a small world that we live in that we're all very similar in how we go about these things. And no two shops are the same, that's for sure. But we're all like-minded in this. We all see the same successes in how we run our shops and what our end goal execution is and how we spend these dollars effectively. It's really just with every new client that comes aboard and every new face I get to meet, understanding those challenges that we've encountered and seen before, or maybe even experienced directly head on, right? As former shop owners. I think that's really the most exciting thing. I'm watching the successes of how we help in their shop and grow their numbers and grow their clientele overall.
Yeah. Well, and it's fascinating how much can be left out there that you don't realize that you can grow within a certain, radius around your store. You realize, man, I've been missing some really good opportunities here, and I didn't have to spend as much as I had been, or I thought I'd have to spend to get there.
Right.
Yeah. Just give people more like a personal view of who you are. What's your favorite hobby outside of hockey?
Ooh, I'm a bit of a tech nerd, I guess you could say. I really like to get involved in some programming and some site building and really the ins and outs of the internet. I like to explore all different categories of that. It's probably my second favorite thing besides really being an athlete and activities around sports.
Well, I think that's kind of cool considering your occupation, that you actually, what your hobby is similar to what your occupation is. You enjoy the space tremendously.
Yeah. In some ways you wouldn't, it's very wide ranged, the amount of interest I have, but that certainly peaks as
well, I would say trade partners, occupationally speaking, it's more like being a cardiologist, because tread does not, do the general practicing of marketing. It's strictly in this industry, strictly with what we, the digital space. Although I know it goes broader in many cases, but that's the lane.
Yeah.
But it's cool that you really like being in this space in a lot of ways, I guess I'm trying to say. I like that. I think
there's always something more to learn, right? Whether it's through automotive or through experience. There's never a dull time to learn more.
Is there anything that, like a motto, a mantra, quote, something that stands out to you that you like to live by, or maybe you just found it and you really like it? Anything, a mentor?
You touched on it a couple of times throughout this. You don't know what you don't know. And there's a whole world of discovery out there. And every day, again, is a new experience to learn something and to grow within, the bounds that you're given. And I try to keep that close to the heart, that if you ain't learning, you ain't working, you ain't winning, right? Like you gotta figure something out throughout the day, even if it's something so small. There's no other way to execute your life, I don't think, without continuing to try to strive forward.
I love it. Well, I'm going to leave you on that, and I appreciate you being finally on Gain Traction, man.
I appreciate you as always, my friend. It's great to be here.
Well, to all our audience out there, to our listeners, thank you for being part of the podcast. We are always grateful for you. If you'd like to find out and listen to more podcasts like this, please visit gaintractionpodcast.com. Till next time, have a great day. To all our listeners, thank you for being part of the Gain Traction Podcast. We are grateful for you. If you'd like to find more podcasts like this, please visit gaintractionpodcast.com. If you'd like to make a guest recommendation, please email me at mike@treadpartners.com. This episode has been powered by Tread Partners, the leader in digital marketing for multi-location tire and auto repair shops. To learn more about Tread Partners, visit treadpartners.com.